I don't know any therapist that got into this field looking to actually make 6, 7, 8 figures.
Get rich off of it. Right.
So, like, there's a
Yeah.
lot of us that do, but that takes a
hmm
lot of work. That also takes a lot of self-care. That takes a lot of planning. That takes a lot of dedication. And it takes a lot to really figure out, where am I going to be the best authentic version of myself so I can show up for my clients.
Hi, I'm Kim Tolson and I'm the traveling therapist. It's my passion to teach therapists how to navigate online private practices and multiple income streams so they can travel the world. I'm a digital nomad with a virtual insurance based private therapy practice and a multi 6 figure coaching business. I'm obsessed with entrepreneurship and developing tools that can help therapists live an adventurous lifestyle. In this podcast, I will discuss my journey as a digital nomad. I'll chat with other traveling therapists and help you navigate the complexities of running an online insurance-based practice. I'm so glad to have you with me on this journey. Going in network with insurance can be tough. For example, waiting a year to get credentialed in some cases. Filing all the right paperwork is time consuming and tedious, and even after you're done, it can take months to get credentialed and start seeing clients. That's why Alma makes it easy and financially rewarding to accept insurance. When you join the insurance program, you can get credentialed within 45 days and access to enhanced reimbursement rates. They also handle all the paperwork from eligibility checks to claim submissions, and they guarantee payment within 2 weeks of each appointment. Once you've joined Alma's insurance program, you can see clients in your state of licensure regardless of where you're working from. This is particularly exciting for me as a traveling therapist, as I know it is probably for you too. You can literally be anywhere and still see your clients through Alma. Learn more about building a thriving private practice with Alma at helloalma.com/Kim. That's helloalma.com/KYM to get started.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Traveling Therapist Podcast. Super excited today to have our next guest. He is in the Traveling Therapist Facebook group, and he always has the best comments. He's like my favorite commenter in the Traveling Therapist Facebook group. And I was so excited when he agreed to come in here and do an episode with me. His name is Romel Santiago. And I'm going to let him tell you all about himself, but I'm just really excited for this interview. We've got some cool stuff to tell you about. I'll turn it over to you to introduce yourself and let everybody know, how did you become a traveling therapist?
Good morning, everybody. Romel Santiago, the owner of Romeo Sensation LLC that operates in Maryland, Florida, and now Colombia, South America. Woo! So funny story. I decided that during the pandemic, I was going to open up my own practice, as a sex therapist. During COVID, everybody was either having problems in their relationship, either having sex with their partner, having sex with other partners, non-consensually, of course. And it just all fit together. So unfortunately to say, COVID provided a lot of opportunities for this particular field and a lot of fields to just move forward in the 21st century. So after I opened up my business, I also decided I was going to divorce my husband.
Wow.
So the plan was we were going to move to Guatemala because he's from Guatemala. So I can actually learn Spanish, last name Santiago. Everybody thinks I speak Spanish until they find out I don't. So Guatemala was the plan. I was going to learn Spanish, and he was going to show me some of the amazing places in Guatemala. Then I served him with divorce papers.
No more Guatemala.
Well, fuck Guatemala. Where am I going to go next? And still to this day, I cannot figure out how I landed in Colombia. All I know is like the universe aligned. And within, I think I served him with divorce papers in July of 2021. And by September of 2021, I was in Colombia.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the universe literally aligned in an amazing way. And so I got an opportunity to explore Colombia while seeing some clients. And I'm like, I love this life. I can work
Yeah.
anywhere. Of course, before doing all of that, I did contact the board. I did contact the insurance companies. I did contact my liability insurance, the most important folks to contact. And everybody gave me the green light. So I was like, fine, we'll do this. And then I moved to Colombia in September. And then I had already had a planned trip with one of my oldest and dearest friends from Chicago, because I'm
Oh,
from
wow.
Chicago.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so we were going to Peru
Oh,
and
wow.
to hike up Machu Picchu. And that provided another opportunity to explore, well, how do I do vacations and work and all this other stuff? And it just worked. So
Wow.
the past couple of years, like I've had opportunities to go to Chile, Argentina. Brazil was before, so I wasn't working in Brazil, but Chile, Argentina, a couple of the islands. I just got back from Aruba 2 days ago.
Oh,
So
nice.
and then I have a 2 week scuba diving trip planned in Honduras
Gosh.
with
Nice.
the Gay Men Scuba group on Facebook.
Oh,
So everything's like, well, I can vacation and I can work and I can navigate all of this. But none of this would be possible if it were not for the most important person on my team, and
hmm.
that is my office manager.
Oh my
Like,
gosh. Yeah.
without Jackie, like Jackie runs the company.
I hear you. I have one of those. Leslie. She runs it for me.
And she is the most amazing and most important part of Romeo
Oh, I love
Sensation. Like
that.
she runs everything, especially like when I go on vacations or when I'm traveling. Like she'll just text me. She's like, "Hey, so and so may need to talk to you, or so and so wants to schedule." And like she
Yeah.
runs everything.
That's amazing.
I'm just the
Oh my
therapist.
gosh.
She does
Yeah.
everything.
Just the therapist. So I'll get up to have somebody that can run your business for you so you can go have fun when you're in all these places and just stop to see your clients and be done with it. Somebody else can help do the rest. That's amazing. Yeah. So, okay. So you're going to all these cool places. So the places you just mentioned, like Honduras and all that. Now, in Aruba, do you work in those places too? Or do you try to like schedule like a vacation time and then come back to Colombia and do your work? Or do you try to work it all in like that?
So normally, if we're talking about just the therapy component,
Mm-hmm.
if you own your own private practice, there's
Mm-hmm.
no such thing as a vacation. There's always something to do. But the therapy component, like I'll see clients if I need to while I'm on
Yeah.
vacation or
Mm-hmm.
while I'm traveling. There's sometimes that I'll schedule, like I'm going to Maryland to do my fingerprints and my FBI background check for my license renewal in on the 30th.
Oh,
So
cool.
while I'm in Maryland, I'm still seeing clients and renewing my license and I'm taking care of all of that. But it's planned to where I'm only seeing a couple of clients.
Oh,
Now,
nice.
there's some other accounting and financial things that need to get done, but my company doesn't just do therapy. Like we at the middle of the year, I started the YouTube channel to help my clients to
Oh,
actually
nice.
use some of the tools and skills. So there's the YouTube channel. I just nonviolent communication 8-day workshop or 8-day virtual course. And then on the 15th of September, 2023, we just launched our 8-day course for nonviolent communication. It's called 8 Steps to Intimacy by Romeo Sensation. And so the pre-launch is happening right now. And then as the pre-launch is happening, we're also building the second part of the course so that it's more of a course that's designated to what clients actually say that they need versus me just setting up a course and saying, hey, this is how you communicate. Let me tell you what your relationship needs. So throughout some of the vacation, it was also working with the videographer,
Yeah. Sounds right.
working with them to do the edits, to mesh together some videos and all that fun stuff. And so
That's
yeah,
amazing.
during the trips, if I'm not seeing clients, there may be times that I have to do some of the other components, but it's
I love that stuff though. I'm obsessed with like all these other income streams. I just love it. So that's really cool. And we'll put all that in the show links if you want to share or the show note links. I think that'd be awesome just in case people want to sign up and take that. What a really cool offering. Yeah. So one of the reasons I wanted to interview you, one was just to get to know you a little bit better, but two, you're a little bit different because most therapists, they go travel, work, live somewhere outside of the country and just see their clients back in their state of licensure. That's how most people manage it. But you've gone sort of an extra step with it and actually got licensed, or I don't even know the whole process, but you are working in Colombia too and seeing clients there, right?
Yeah.
So I would love to talk about what that process was like for you. I'm sure it's different in different countries, but this is a question that comes up all the time. Like, okay, if I move to Mexico, how can I see clients in Mexico? How does that work? And when you said that you were doing that, I was like, this would be really cool to just hear the process so people can understand. It is different probably for every country, but it's probably similar to what you went through, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So I knew when I moved to Colombia that I was not going to return to the United States. Like, that's it.
Wow. I'm
He's
done.
everything that's going on. But the process was a bit of a headache. It was super, super easy once I understood what the process looked like. So what I should have done, and anybody who's thinking about getting licensed in any other country, especially non-English speaking country, is first get everything translated. Get the
Nice.
originals, get them translated, and then get them apostilled.
Mm.
I didn't know anything about that process. Or
Yeah. What does
uh,
apostled mean? Like, what
I'm
does that
sorry,
mean?
not apostilled. It's translated, and what the hell
Mm.
is that other word?
Like notarized or something, or like
Fuck. I can't think of that word.
basically, I guess like somebody translated it and then like you check it for accuracy, I guess, or is that
Yeah, so what they do
okay?
is one company will translate all of the paperwork, and another country actually verifies the legitimacy before
Oh,
taking any documents, because they're worthless outside of the United States. So
gotcha.
you need this process, and I can't remember what it's called. You need this process to have all of your documents verified that they are
Okay.
legit and then stamped. And so once you get them translated, and I think it is apostilled.
Okay. Okay. I mean, it sounds like that would make sense, you know, getting another country to check it out just to make sure it's like legit and yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it is apostilled.
Oh,
And
cool. Okay.
authentication that seeks to simplify the process of legalization and authentication of public documents that are
Hmm.
recognized in other countries. So yeah.
Interesting.
So the first step is always, always, always go get them translated and apostilled.
Wow.
The challenging component about getting them apostilled is that it can, in most states, from my understanding, it can only be done at the state capital.
Oh,
So I
wow.
was living in Tampa
Hmm.
and I had to send I either had to go to Tallahassee, or I had to send the documents to Tallahassee and then have them returned to me. So I opted for sending them to Tallahassee with a money order, an envelope with the return address and some other stuff. But because my return address is in Colombia, that was a little bit more challenging. But anyway, get them apostilled and notarized. The next thing is to get all of your education affirmed by the Ministry of Education in Colombia. That process was super easy. Like,
Oh, cool.
put all the information in, and you wait. With any government agency, you wait.
Absolutely.
So once that was done, then it was figuring out, well, who's the licensing body? Because in the United States, there's so many different types of therapists.
Yeah.
So who's the licensing body for therapists in Colombia? So I wound up contacting them. Now, once I contacted them and I sent them all, or they verified all the information with the Ministry of Education, then I was able to apply for my license.
Mm.
And that was another really easy process, but it was also a lot of waiting. Once my
Wow.
license came, then it became reading up on all of the laws and rules and regulations.
Wow.
Colombia, therapy looks very, very different. So in Colombia, my singing bowl using
Mm.
essential oils, using some of the de-escalation, mindfulness techniques, all of that is not considered to be the practice of a psychologist. Because in Colombia, I'm a
Wow.
psychologist.
Oh, wow.
So I'd be violating the laws of provide, because this is more, I want to say, Eastern medicine.
Hmm.
And no matter what the research says, I'm still living in Colombia, so therefore I have to abide by the laws and regulations here. So it then be talking to a bunch of other therapists. Luckily, my therapist is Colombian. So there's a couple of times where I'll get some feedback and some guidance specifically from my therapist, just because he knows pretty much the entire process.
That's amazing. Wow. Smart.
So outside of therapy, there's also that other opportunity to get a little more clarity and direction in terms of how to move forward in what directions. My understanding is that online therapy, there's a lot more leeway. Even the way that the office is set up in Colombia, if you provide in-person therapy, you're essentially treated like a medical provider. There's a desk that separates you and your client. Your
Oh,
client,
wow.
like, no flowers, like the decorations of your office are also violate some of the guidelines and ethics around how therapy is practiced here in Colombia.
Wow.
It
Oh my
becomes
gosh.
very, very important to know that if you're setting up an office and the governing body walks in and does an audit, like, you're now faced with either fines or losing your license, because what you're doing,
Wow.
not providing therapy based off of Colombian standards. What you're doing is providing some other Eastern medicine or other forms of assistance to your clients.
Wow. Wow.
Managing a successful private practice can be challenging, even if you have all the skills and experience you need to support clients. Most training programs offer little to no guidance on running your own business. That's why Alma gives clinicians the tools they need to build a thriving private practice. When you join Alma, you can get credentialed with major insurance payers within 45 days, as well as guaranteed payment within 2 weeks of each session. You can also attract clients who are the right fit for your practice with a free profile in Alma's searchable directory. As you build your caseload, Alma also offers time-saving tools and administrative support, so you can spend less time on paperwork and more time delivering great care to your clients. Visit helloalma.com/Kim to download your free guide to identifying and connecting with clients who are the right fit for your practice. That's helloalma.com/KYM to get your guide.
Okay, I have so many questions. Okay, so let's back up for a second with the document process to get the apostle process that you were talking about. So was that just to get a business set up in Colombia? Was that what that was, or was that the psychotherapy piece of it?
No, all of that was just for the license.
Okay,
In
gotcha.
order to set up
Okay.
a business in Colombia as a
Wow.
foreigner, you have to have the appropriate visa,
Okay.
right? You cannot, if you're visiting Colombia, the folks in the United States can visit Colombia for up to 90 days out of visa and then ask for an extension of 90 days. And that's most Latin American countries. This is not legal advice.
No,
Do not
nobody take it for
this.
that. Do your own research.
Right, do your own research. But there's various levels of visas. So even a student visa, you cannot be working. Right now, I have a digital nomad visa. So
Okay.
once this visa expires, I can then apply for a professional visa. I did it that way because any profession that's coming into Colombia and seeking a visa, that's a long, lengthy process. So it takes about 8 months. Now that I have my license, now that I have all of the essentially prerequisites, when this visa expires, I can then apply for professional visa, which is an M visa, which allows me a lot more rights to then actually set up a business. Right now, if I want to see folks, it's a different process.
Gotcha. Yeah, gosh, there's a lot to it. It's super interesting, and I'm just thinking you have to be really committed to a new country to go through all this. And it sounds like you are. You really want to stay in Colombia, but wow, that's amazing. So okay, so you went through all of this that we're talking about, and then you figured out the regulations for psychotherapy. You're considered a psychologist. You can't do the alternative type stuff that would probably be considered evidence-based in the United
Yeah.
States. So what did you do? Did you get an office, or are you like all teletherapy from in
No,
people
so
you see? Okay.
right now, everything is telehealth. I'm not marketing to a lot of one because my Spanish is not sufficient enough to conduct therapy to Spanish speaking individuals. But two, I want to make sure that I'm marketing in a way that doesn't just draw clients. I want to build slowly here. So the idea is only really using psychology today and finding out how some of the other therapy modalities work here in Colombia. Yeah, so I'm slowly building.
Okay.
And then once I figure out what modalities I can use here, because I am
Okay.
also EMDR trained and working on my
Okay.
certification. So I want to
Mhm.
make sure I'm able to do that. Once I'm able to do that, the plan is build relationships with some of the long-term hostels and provide visitors with some really
Hmm.
structured solution focused or EMDR, very short-term therapies as they
Wow.
either transition into the nomad life or as they're navigating through just the transition of living in another country.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So that's why I'm really working towards making sure that all of my I's are dotted and my T's are crossed, or my T's
Mhm.
are dotted and my I's are crossed,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that this is more of a long term. Eventually, I want to transition away from the United States, and that's
Okay.
my 5 to 10 year plan, just because of where I'm at in my journey.
Hmm.
Ultimately, I'm also looking at transitioning out of having a US citizenship and into some other, hopefully Colombia, if not Colombia.
Wow.
So yeah, but my recommendation to anybody who's actually thinking about exploring licensure in another country, one, make sure that it's actually something that you really, really want. And two, what's your longer term goal? I see lots of therapists that get licensed in like 50, 60 different states and or 60 so many states and go and get all of these certifications and they have all of their hands in all of these places,
Yeah.
but find your niche. For me, I'm a minority male presenting sex therapist that specializes in trauma as well, and
Wow.
so me, like my areas of focus are really going to be trauma and sex. And then because I'm a part of the BDSM kink and fetish community, and that's so large. Like I have Medellin and Bogota have very huge communities when it comes to the BDSM fetish kink and ethical non-monogamous communities. Although the plan is ever changing and ever evolving, the crux of it is always going to be the same. I'm always showing up and focusing on where am I most needed that fits within my niche and how do I show up as a professional providing services in these particular areas instead of looking at it from the lens of I need all of these things, all of these certificates or all of these letters in order to make money, in order to do this.
Hmm.
If you're struggling with making money as a therapist, leave the
Hmm.
fucking United States.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm
Yeah.
a huge advocate for just leaving because the mentality in the United States is if you're not making 6 figures, you're poor as shit. And
Mm. Yeah.
I don't know any therapist that got into this field looking to actually make 6, 7, 8 figures.
Get rich off of it. Right. Hmm.
So, like, there's a
Yeah.
lot of us that do, but that takes a
Hmm.
lot of work. That also takes a lot of self-care. That takes a lot of planning. That takes a lot of dedication. And it takes a lot to really figure out where am I going to be the best authentic version of myself so I can show up for my clients. And for me, that just meant leaving the United States, finding
Hmm.
somewhere that I can actually have a life. I can
Yeah.
work. I can go on vacation. I can do the things that recharge me and I can afford to do them.
Hmm.
So that would be like my number one recommendation is figure out what your niche is and figure out what the actual plan so that you can show up for yourself before you show up for your clients.
Yeah. I love that because if you're not okay, how are your clients going to be okay? You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, that's what I preach too in the traveling therapist group. It's like, figure out what you want to do with your life, what your passion is, figure out where you want to do it, how you want to do it, and then build your practice around that. So many people get stuck in, I've got to work in an agency and I've got to be a generalist and I can't leave the country. There's so many rules around it. But if you really look within and figure out all that stuff, you can make it work just like you have with Colombia. It's like, I love Colombia. I'm gonna get licensed here. I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna do all the research and I'm gonna transition and just this is where I want to be a citizen. And it's amazing. You figured all that out and now you're going through the proper channels to make it happen. Just really inspirational to hear your story. Yeah. So cool.
Like I said, I don't know how it happened. The universe literally aligned, and it's just been pushing me in these directions.
Mm-hmm.
But the second piece of advice is don't do this by yourself. Throughout
Mm,
this entire journey, I've had a therapist
yeah.
in Colombia, and he's amazing. So if you
Yeah.
ever come to Colombia and you want a therapist, like I've got the perfect person.
Look you up.
Um,
Yeah.
but outside of having a therapist, I also watch a lot of I'm a huge spiritual person, so there's a lot of
Mm,
astrology that goes into the work that I do. And if folks are familiar with energy work, there's something called shadow work. Uh,
hmm.
so I have another amazing individual in Canada that is not a therapist. She is an energy worker, and she is a coach. So they have a lot more flexibility.
Yeah.
But throughout this process, it was not just talking to other folks that have gone through the process, but doing my own work. Um,
Hmm.
and it's amazing how, as you do the work, the universe essentially just keeps pushing you into the right direction. Even if your plan is not completely clear, um, you're still getting pushed into exactly where you're supposed to be.
Hmm.
So,
Love
second
that.
piece of advice for any, and everybody is don't do this process by yourself.
Love that. Yeah. And I mean, that's the reason I created the traveling therapist membership, really, is to have a support system. And every month I call it like a woo woo topic or whatever, because I'm with you. Like, I believe the universe is trying to tell us stuff. So I've built things in there to help guide people on this journey. Like today she's a life intuitive coach and she's a tarot card reader, but she comes in every couple of months in the traveling therapist membership. And today she's coming in to pull cards for everybody. The topic of the month is building multiple income streams, and she's pulling cards on like why haven't you built your other income stream yet? And she's helping traveling therapists move through that. But that was the whole reason I created that, because as a digital nomad or traveling therapist, I want that community too, where we can have a happy hour and hang out and talk about the problems we're struggling with. So, I love that advice. And to hear you say I've got the therapist in Colombia and this other person in Canada and they're all supporting me. It's awesome. Yeah. And I fully agree, especially if you're like on the road all the time. It's hard to build that community. So you do need, I feel like, an online sort of presence where you can just go to people for support with all this stuff. Yeah, absolutely. So cool. What a message. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for sharing this today. So I want to shift gears just for a second. You have the funniest story.
Oh,
Totally shifting gears now. So anybody that's in the traveling therapist Facebook group, I post these questions like all the time, and he always has the funniest comments. So the other day I posted one that was like, what's your craziest customs story? Like going through customs and what's the biggest customs mishap, I think is what we called it. Will you share with the audience your really funny mishap? Because I had me cracking up, and now every time I think about customs, I just think of you.
so I was taking a trip. So in the traveling therapist group, I had said that this was a work trip. I was doing a conference. Now, part of that is actually true. Part of that is because I'm a part of the fetish, BDSM, and kink community. Part of that
Yeah.
was the play. So, like any great sex therapist and kinky individual, I packed my fun bag and my belt. I got my flogger, and I'm walking through the airport with my flogger on the side and my bag full of goodies. And of course, I don't check it because I'm cheap. If you ask any of my exes, I'm cheap as shit. So I
That's
don't check my
hilarious.
bag. I throw it in the scanner, and they're like, "Well, we have to search this." Enter
Go for it.
risk. So she's pulling out fisting dildos, She's pulling out my electric butt plugs, my electric
Oh my
contacts.
God.
She's pulling out like all of these fun toys. And like when I talk about fisting dildo, there is like this hand that's literally my hand
Oh,
that's about this long.
oh
So
my
she's
God.
pulling that out of the bag and like she's just in shock and she's got to search the bag and everybody in the airport just stops and is just looking and mortified. And I'm just like, yeah, if y'all got any questions, I'd love to
Do a
shove
little education.
to your small holes. Yeah, so
Oh my God.
she's continuously pulling out and like the dildos are various sizes.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And
That's
then she
great.
gets to my acorn, which
Uh,
is if you're familiar with Square Peg, I have no stock in Square Peg, but Square Peg has the best toys for
what?
anal play and the highest quality that I've come in contact with. But there's this butt plug that's the size
Oh
of fist.
my God.
And she pulls this out and it's not light. And she's
Oh
just
my God.
and she looks at me and I can read her mind. She's like, I'm not even gonna ask.
I don't even want to know.
Take your shit and just leave. And as I'm packing it in, because she doesn't want to touch this shit anymore, as I'm packing it back into the bag, like the
Oh my
people
God.
around me, like there's this one woman, she's just beat fucking red.
Oh my
And
gosh.
past
Wow.
her and like I just
We got her.
go on merry way. Yeah, it
Oh,
was
that's hilarious. Oh my God. That's the best. I mean, that's the best customs free. I mean, you hear like, my electric toothbrush went off or something. They thought it was a vibrator, but this is legit huge bag of sex toys. So I just thought that was great.
but there were no
Love it.
vibrators.
Like, no vibrators.
Everything but vibrators.
That's hilarious. Thanks, sharing that story. I mean, it just cracks me up. I just can envision the whole scene and just that must have been hilarious for you too. I'm glad they didn't confiscate everything.
I don't think they wanted to touch him.
Yeah, it's so funny. Well, okay. So thank you so much for doing this episode. And how can people work with you if they want to take your nonviolent communication course or find more information about you? How do they look you up?
So you can either Google Romel Santiago, that's Romel Santiago, 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 or you can look up Romeo Sensation LLC. That's ROMEOSSENSATION. You can Google that or go to romeosensation.com. And on the website under services, you can find our EMDR services, our therapy for individuals and couples, and then Romeo's groups and classes. Right now, the class that we are doing the pre-launch for is the 8 Steps to Intimacy, which pre-launched on September 15th. During the pre-launch, it is going for $75. This is $75 for 2 hours a day for 8 days, learning how to utilize nonviolent communication and some of the pre-work that goes into it. If you're looking for something that's more free, less costly, you can follow our YouTube channel. Every week, there's a new skill and a tool. So in the 8 Steps to Intimacy, we do talk about the feelings thermometer, the needs list, I feel statements, things of that nature. And some of those videos are also on our YouTube channel, except our YouTube channel, we limit that to about 5 to 8 minutes per video. So if you are a current client of mine, you can always go on the YouTube channel to be reminded of some of the homework and skills that we talked about in our sessions. So you can also have those reminders. Yeah, if you do want to reach out, you can always reach out to either myself or Jackie, who is the admin, who is every part of the company, knows it more than I do. And her email address is admin@romeossensation.com. That's 2 consecutive S's. And then I'll also send you all of that information, Kim, in case anybody reaches out to you and wants to get in contact.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we'll put it all in the show notes too if you guys want to click through and learn more about them. Thank you so much. This is awesome. And obviously, if anybody wants to learn about getting licensed and working in Colombia, this is your person to go to for that for sure. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kim. It was an absolute pleasure. And with that being said, I hope you have a wonderful, amazing rest of this beautiful day. And I'll talk with you soon, all right?
Okay, you too.
Thank you so much for listening to the Traveling Therapist podcast. For show notes, links, and downloads, head over to thetravelingtherapist.com, where you'll be able to learn more about my journey, the courses I've created for you, and other exciting resources to make your dreams become a reality. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share with your traveling therapist friends, subscribe to the podcast, and if you love this episode, please leave a review.